The following is a Mission Studios podcast.
Please remember, my little Podverse family, like, subscribe, and leave a comment on your podcast platform of choice. It helps me out and works the algorithm to get better rankings and bring our little podcast family to more listeners. Thank you, and on with the show. Welcome to the Podverse Podcast. We like to stir up minds, emotions, and thoughts. Episodes will be emotional, some will be a bit comical, and everything else in between. But all will have a message and be given from the heart. So sit back, get comfy, and enjoy the journey. A child asked their dad, "Why are people so nice to people who are about to die?" The father answers with, "Because people like to make people feel happy and connected." The child looks at their father and contemplates for a moment, then replies, "But Daddy, everyone dies a little every day, and sometimes we don't know when a person's going to die. So why isn't everyone always nice? We never know what's going to happen to someone." The father sits back and ponders the wisdom. Why do people always leave important words of expression and paying extra attention until we know that someone is about to pass? People always hold on to regrets. I should have said more, I could have been nicer, maybe I should have listened. All these questions and statements can now never be answered. I had one huge regret. When I was much younger, the man that was most important to me suddenly passed. It was my grandfather. At the time, he was the only man in my family that ever accepted me and did not pass judgment. He took me in when I needed him. When I was stoned, I thought I was going to die. He took me in and let me stay. He asked me to stay downstairs in the rec room so my grandmother wouldn't see me and worry. But he fed me. He held me. He gave me work once in a while. The regret I had? I was never able to tell him how much I loved him and how much I respected him, how much I appreciated him for being there for me when he could, and knew when to say no because there was a lesson he needed to teach me, or sometimes to let me know I didn't run the show. From what I could see, he was a stern man to most others, but to me he was my grandpa. Yes, stern when it was necessary, which was most of the time with my hard head. But I saw a side of him that most did not. The soft side, the man he thought he needed to hide away from most because of judgment or because he thought that's what most expected of him. I never got to express to this wonderful man how much I loved him because I didn't know any better. But from that I learned the most valuable lesson I could have ever learned. Though I was an impossible hothead most of the time, I learned never to leave words of affection and adornment in my head. The regret I felt caused such anger and pain inside of me for years. As the years went by and time passed, I had a few teachers. And after a few years, any time I got close to someone I cared about, I made sure I opened up and let them know how I felt. And of course I stayed guarded. Now part of my protection was making sure people knew exactly how I felt in my head. It protected me from them hurting me from beyond the grave. At least, that's how I used to justify it before I knew what I was actually doing. The truth is, what I was doing was allowing myself to create an atmosphere where I could deal with loss from a much different perspective. I found truth and honesty of expression. I did not feel remorse like most do. I had wonderful memories and solidarity in knowing the person that I love, yes, has passed, though it was tragic. I had peace knowing that there was never any doubt the person I cared for knew exactly the fullness of love and devotion I had for them. And I developed a very strong sense of loyalty with my new use of expression. I expressed honestly every time I saw them, without fail, not only on the day or week they passed. What this also did was give me insight and clarity to appreciate my mortality and not get overly upset and irrational, losing my crap. I was stronger and able to be there more for those that needed me in times of crisis. As you can see, there are personal benefits and rewards to being open like this. But that's not a bad thing. We are allowed to make ourselves healthy as well and should not feel bad, guilty, or embarrassed for making others and ourselves healthy in our heads and in our relationships. So here is the silently in your own head question that I put out every week. When was the last time you fully expressed your feeling of love or strong like or your feelings of disapproval or sadness. When was the last time you were 100% responsible, emotionally honest, and available to fully be there for a friend or a loved one? Isn't it weird how we know better, but in most cases we wait until it's too late to make any great impact? Other than our own conscience, what good does it do us or the person in bad shape if we wait till the end to express? Who can enjoy the goodness that comes from telling the ones we love what we feel if they only have a couple of days to enjoy it? Especially if they are in pain and dealing with who the heck knows how many other crushing thoughts. They are thinking about their own demise. How selfish are we, expecting those that are dying and suffering, or doped out of their minds on pain meds, to accept what we say and exonerate us in the last few days because we are guilt and sadness ridden? We want them to forgive us for not telling them before. I'm not saying they're not going to be missed, or that we should just go on because we said our piece while they were alive. What I'm doing is asking, what are we all losing out on by not telling them? Yes, there will be a hole in our lives for a while, probably a long while, but grieving is hard enough without regret, because we are too proud or embarrassed to express our feelings while they're alive. We, the ones that are living and going home to heal, are expecting the people that are dying to forgive us for not being open? How is that right? How is that not just one of the most selfish acts we as a people can do? Where were the thoughts years before so the ones we love can relish in knowing they are loved, because it is told and proven to them every time they are seen? Not because we assume they know how I feel. Most of us think the loved ones we have are to assume they are loved because, they know. We need to get off our proverbial butts and open our mouths and hearts. Inform the ones you care for every chance you get. No one is openly psychic, so do not assume they know. Hold them, cry with them, shout in anger with them, but most of all, just share with them. Like now. We do not know how long we have on this earth. Could be years, months, days, hours, minutes. Why should we continue to leave it to chance and do it tomorrow? Remember, tomorrow never comes. When it is here, it is today, and tomorrow just becomes procrastination. So when you are done here, remember to tell those you love how and why you do care for them every chance you get. If they are worthy enough for your love in the first place, they are worthy enough to hear and feel it for as long as they are alive. Or is it still reserved only for those that are dying, so you can torture yourself and feel it alone after they pass? Be thankful for those that are here with us, and remember those that are not in fondness, holding your love for them eternally in your heart. Be safe, be informed, and be well, my little Podverse family. I love you all. See you next week.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Podverse podcast. Whatever you take from this message, it is given freely and with the utmost respect. Any support for the Podverse podcast is always welcome and can be left at our website, www.pod-versecom. Whether support is by way of suggestion, story, constructive criticism, or maybe you wish to sponsor an episode, there is never any obligation. We just hope to create a wonderful experience for you in this Podverse community. Also, be sure to check us out on our social media. Join us on Facebook at Podverse Podcast Group or on Twitter at pod_verse. Chat with you in the next episode.